This is one of the most talked about books of the year so far.
It is without a doubt that Yesteryear is opening a can of worms when it comes to family influencers, trad
I've been spiraling over this book ever since finishing it. The book I'm referring to is Yesteryear.
I have never had a 5-star read go from a 5 to perhaps the opposite quite as quickly as I did with Yesteryear.
BookTok hasn't been able to stop talking about Yesteryear by Caro Burke. It is a story about a tradwife influencer who is forced to live the life she has been romanticizing in her social media videos that has amassed millions of views. And like any viral social media video, the hook on this book sucks you in so deep, it's almost impossible to ignore. If you're unfamiliar to what a tradwife is, it stands for traditional wife. So think a woman who cooks from scratch, preferably with food that she grows herself, cares for the children, cleans the house, and all of the other traditional duties of a wife. With the modernization of marriages and society, this really isn't the norm. So when we have online creators such as Ballerina Farm and Nara Smith, you can understand why they amass huge followers, daily comments, and are the source of discussion in your group chats. As an online creator myself, this book pushed all others of my TBR and made its way into our July book club because this was a must read for me. We ended up reading something entirely different to what I expected, and if I'm honest, I can't really explain why. Tamika and I sat down for 2 hours before we hit record on this episode, and ultimately we decided to keep things as digestible as possible. What we hope you can take away from this month's ep is that great art creates conversation, and even if you're not familiar with online trends, this is a book definitely worth reading. Hello and welcome back to the Matchy Chapter podcast. You're joined by your host Sav, which is me, and my sister Tam.
Hello.
Which is you. We have a interesting ep today because we are diving into Yesteryear by Caro Burke, which we read for our July book club. Honestly, I don't even know.
What a wild ride.
What a wild ride. I've literally just finished the book as well. So I'm fresh. I have fresh thoughts.
Good to go.
Fresh opinions. This book, if you haven't seen it already, is absolutely everywhere at the moment. And to quote inkandimaginings.com, the hook is irresistible. A tradwife influencer waking up in the brutal reality of actual pioneer life is a clever, biting setup that taps into exactly the right cultural moment. If you are someone that spends most of your time online, tradwife influencing tradwife culture is really popular.
It's popular at the moment. Yeah.
So this book has a fantastic elevator pitch. So where do we want to start? Should we start where we always start, which is our first impressions?
Yeah, okay.
And just like take it easy. Let's just give ourselves a whole lot of grace with this episode because we've just been discussing for like an hour and a half how we're even going to tackle
where to go with this.
Yeah.
And it could only, honestly, you could
could
go up, down, left, right, inside, outside.
Yeah. And it could
Round
be,
in
we could be here
circles.
for 5 hours.
We just don't have that kind of time.
I don't want to, after this, I don't really want to talk about the book ever again, if I'm honest. But anyway, so yes, let's start with your first impressions.
My first thoughts going into it, I thought it was a really easily descriptive book. It painted a nice picture of what an influencer's day-to-day life would be like behind the scenes. I probably wanted a little bit more of that influencer stage.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I want to know a bit more what she wakes up and does. But
yeah.
And I'm sure we'll go into this. The more you read, I feel like I actually didn't need that much more.
Yeah. I agree with that. I read this on the plane heading to New Zealand, so I was in a really good mood and I was really excited to read this. Like I said, the whole premise of this book really got me hooked. So I was super excited to dive in. I wasn't immediately gripped. I was a little bit confused and I was like, where is this going to go? But I think I learnt pretty quickly what was happening and yeah, it definitely kept me engaged, to say the least.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you start to sort of feel like maybe you couldn't follow what was going on.
Yeah.
But I think too, like I went into this completely blind from the beginning. The only bit I'd heard is what we read on last month's podcast.
Yeah.
I'm not huge on BookTok and Instagram, so I hadn't seen many reviews or anything like that on this. But I am so glad that I went in blind.
Yeah.
Because I think if I got what I was thinking it was going to be like, it would be a completely different story.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting because I'm obviously the complete opposite. Like, this is all I've seen over BookTok for like probably the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And when I like researched the plot, I was like, we have to read this on book club.
Yeah.
I think maybe we just start with like talking about the characters as well. What do you want to go there? Like, what did you think of Natalie?
Yeah,
from
definitely.
the get-go.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's so hard because all these characters
Are really unlikable.
Yeah, but also you do like them.
Yeah.
You love to hate them.
Yeah.
And but then you feel guilty for not liking them.
Yeah, you feel guilty for liking unlikable people.
Yeah, it's so weird. So like Natalie, it's like she's mean, but she's strong and independent. I was left asking myself, do I feel sorry for her? Do I relate to her? Like, do I hate her? Do I like her? It was just like, I don't know. She was human. Let's just say that. She had negative thoughts. She had like strong-minded opinions.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I definitely think describing her as human is very, very accurate. There was a lot of things I did relate to. I thought it was like funny in moments where she was like struggling to set up the tripod and I was like laughing at that. I also really liked how she would speak to herself. I don't even know if I'm allowed to be laughing at this, but when she would cuss, like use a naughty word and then she'd say, sorry, Lord. I found that really entertaining. So I liked that side of her personality, even though that's such an unlikable thing to be like.
Well, I think it just depends. Like if you're brought up in a Christian family, and that sort of religion and culture, that you're just taught to not cuss.
Yeah.
Therefore, you say sorry.
Yeah.
But it also made her relatable, because how many times have you sworn inside your head and think, oh, sorry, Lord.
Yeah.
Like,
I should not be thinking that or saying that. What did you think of Caleb?
I cannot get a read on Caleb. I could not read him at all. Like, is he useless? Or is he exactly who he's meant to be? Like, is he manipulating the whole situation?
Like, is he super smart mega mind manipulator or is he as dumb as Natalie thinks? If he is smart and manipulating the whole situation, like, why? And then if he is dumb and unmotivated, in Natalie's words, that makes more sense. But yeah, I don't know. It's a lot to get your head around. I think I probably want a little bit more from him as well, so I can understand him a little bit. Yeah, because you kind of, like, I feel like with the whole book, it only really scratches the surface of everything, like scratches the surface of influencing, scratches the surface of tradwife, scratches the surface of the characters and things like that. So I just wanted a little bit more depth to everything, and probably particularly Caleb, so I could understand him a little bit more.
I think it's also nice not having that much depth because it is completely open to interpretation. Like, you could take this book and this story which way that you wanted to. Yeah. And any of the characters, you could take them anywhere which you wanted to.
And people have, like, the commentary online is so opinionated. I don't think I've ever read a book that has been more divisive. Like, there's this whole, I think I read a whole article about it being rage bait literature, which is like true. Everyone is in the group chat discussing this because of how it makes them feel.
And that's exactly what a good story and a good writer will do.
Yeah. All of the credit of this, comes from the author. Like, I think she's incredible. I cannot wait to read more from her, if I'm honest.
I'm so surprised. Did you say this was a debut?
Yeah, this is her debut novel. She's been writing apparently, I think, for like 10 years. And she also is the the podcast host of a podcast called Diabolical Lies, which is really cool too. That just like covers pop culture and I think I've never listened to it, but it looks really good.
Yeah.
I think she's just really smart.
I'd be interested. She's done a really good job.
She's done a really good job.
The writing is great. At the start, I maybe thought that I wasn't going to like the writing. Like it was a little bit hard to follow.
I'm not into the jumping between timelines. I didn't want that to happen, but the 1855 timeline faded off really quickly, and then that pissed me off because I wanted it to be there a little bit more, but then I understood why, and I liked that it didn't flip too much between the timelines in the end.
I think I was the same. I thought because I prejudged the book and thought that I knew what I was going to be going in, like getting into, I wanted a little bit more of that 1855 timeline. I wanted a bit more of the reality check and her struggling to actually live in that time, but obviously towards the end
you understand why,
and that as soon as the twist happens, you completely understand why it was written that way, and you don't need to know anymore. It was perfect.
I have a question. Is there actually any more characters that you wanted to see in the story? For example, I feel like there wasn't too many characters, and I think I wanted more people on the farm. A huge point of controversy with Shannon and Natalie is when Shannon starts and there's like so many people working that Shannon didn't realize, but we only ever heard from Shannon as like a helper because Mary and Clementine were her children. So there was no
like you didn't
narrative
hear
from
much from the nannies or from the people on the
I think I maybe wanted a little bit more detail from them.
Yeah, more detail from them so that you could grasp an idea of where Natalie was going with being an influencer and the business and the farm life.
Yeah, like when she started that social media course, I was quite intrigued by that. I wanted to see where that went, and then that just completely fizzled out. And I'm like, no, what are the opinions of the other girls in that group? Like, what's the teacher saying? Like all of this stuff was just missing because it just needed to tell you that she was interested in building a social media, and then it just fizzled away.
Yeah. I guess you could leave that as open to interpretation, because the whole book you only really need to know the very surface of it all.
Yeah.
To let yourself dive in however far deep you want. I'm so glad that I went into this blind. I think I don't know, for those who haven't read it, and I don't know if we've spoiled too much for people who haven't read it yet or not, but for those who haven't read it, I 100% recommend you stay off BookTok and you stay off Instagram and you go in completely blind and read this.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
It is the best example of do not judge a book by its cover or its synopsis that I think I've ever read.
I don't like it.
Which is great because you should be feeling unsettled.
I feel really
unsettled. I went into this blind. I think I don't know, for those who haven't read it, and I don't know if we've spoiled too much for people who haven't read it yet or not, but for those who haven't read it, I 100% recommend you stay off BookTok and you stay off Instagram and you go in completely blind and read this.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
It is the best example of do not judge a book by its cover or its synopsis that I think I've ever read.
Wow, big call.
Yeah.
I do have to agree, definitely. Like, I feel a little bit hoodwinked because I was so captivated by the premise and the ad looked really shiny and intriguing. I felt like I was chewed up and spat out.
You got in, you opened the door, you got in, you go, oh no, I have to think too much. And you want to close the door, but you're too far deep.
You're making me use my brain. This is definitely a brain on, lock in, sit down and get the book read. You can't dip in and out of this one.
No, and you have to be like focused.
Yeah, really
like
focused.
This is like one of watching those TV shows where you can't get up and have it on in the background.
Yeah.
Like you have to watch every little bit.
Yeah.
You have to read every little bit to get the full effect.
Yeah, I agree. What did you think of the twist? Because there was a huge twist in this book.
Are we spoiling it for people?
Yeah.
It was a huge twist. And I did not see it coming.
Either.
Like, if that's what you call a psychological thriller, then I think I understand why. Because, I mean, I wouldn't really, I don't know, would you call it a thriller?
I definitely think psychological thriller, because it's not as much as like there is time travel that's scary, or there is someone in the woods that's kidnapping her that's the enemy. It's her own mind that is her enemy. So,
and it made my brain go, whoa.
I think that's like definition of psychological thriller. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Then that's a well-written psychological thriller. Didn't see it coming, had absolutely no idea that that's the direction that it would go in. Thought I was going to get something completely different.
Yeah.
There's really no other words for me to describe it.
Am I satisfied with the twist? I mean, I don't think there was any other option, and for it to be believable and to keep me in the book, I definitely think was the right twist to have. But I can't lie, I did expect it to be something more simple of time travel or kidnapping, etc., and a bit more fantasy-like. So yeah, I am happy with it because I wasn't disappointed, but I didn't expect it. Did I just contradict myself? No.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Well, no, you didn't, because you didn't want to not expect it.
Yeah. I didn't
You
see
didn't
it
want to
coming.
have to think about it.
Yeah. I didn't see it coming.
Turn your brain on.
I didn't want to have to open Google the minute I'd finished.
You wanted a light, fluffy holiday read.
Yeah. That's not
And
what
we
I got.
didn't get that.
Why? Why you make me think? Anyway. I will say, like, I have seen this obviously compared to our tradwife influencer on TikTok, Ballerina Farm, and her comment section at the moment is like, I'm here after reading Yesteryear, oh my gosh. And also Ruby Frankie, because of the child abuse aspect and her going to jail, which I can totally get, but I think we definitely need to not just because that's an easy comparison, we probably need to like think of something, just think of the book of what it is on its own, because I see where people are coming from, but I don't really think it is a story about those two influences in the way that TikTok is like making it out to be. I don't know if you've seen that commentary, because you're not.
No, well, maybe that's why I enjoyed it so much more, because I'm the complete opposite to all of that, and I can't relate to any of the characters. I can't relate to influencers. I can't on a lot of the online presence to see what everybody's comparing it to.
Yeah,
or what any of those tradwife influencers do.
And I think it also kind of comes back to when we were talking about how every vampire fantasy is compared to Vampire Diaries. It's like, it is a really easy comparison to make, but can we just appreciate like a piece of art on its own and not like have to compare it to these other things? Because at the end of the day, like Ballerina Farm and Ruby Frankie are real people. This is a fiction novel, and it's a piece of art from an author.
And that's exactly what it is. It's art.
And it's
so is what we see on Instagram and TikTok. It's that influences art.
Yes.
So it is open for interpretation.
Like, we don't actually know Ballerina Farm in real life.
Yeah, you don't. You interpret it how you see it.
Yeah.
And that's just
like my 2 cents on all the commentary around it. Anyway, what do we rate it?
Well, at first I rated it like a 3.5, but just talking now and going into it, I actually think it was more like a 4.5 rating.
I am the exact same. I literally had a 3, and then after how much discussion it has sparked, that is exactly what I want from a book.
Exactly.
Discussion,
controversial conversations. Yeah.
Disagreement, agreement. Like, this, like we said, this could be a 5-hour pod episode, but we're going to keep it simple like we always do. So we do
fluffy.
best. But yeah, I definitely think 4.5.
Yeah.
4.5. 4.25. I liked it. If you haven't read Yesteryear and you're watching this episode, definitely go and pick it up, because if you want to be gripped. It didn't take too long to read either.
No, it's a really great read.
I definitely think you could get it done in a weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then tell all of your friends to go and read it as well, so you can have some really awkward, unsettling conversations with each other.
Yeah, it's really fun.
It's really fun.
Definitely keep it with your friends. Don't like venture out to talking to your mum and dad about it or anything. Or partner. Anyway, so we have been doing this podcast for coming up to a year now. So we're going to take a little seasonal break and regroup because we have a mini rebrand coming, and we are also wanting to read.
Oh, let's catch up on the Sarah J. Maas world, because I'm still so behind. I still haven't read Crescent City, and there's still so much news coming out of that.
Yeah, we want to read Crescent City. I want to read Throne of Glass before the end of the year. So we're going to take.
Do you know what else is really exciting?
What?
I should have said this at the start of BookTok news. But I need to finish Dungeon Crawler Carl series because Dungeon Crawler Carl is coming to our TVs. What? You're not a Dungeon Crawler Carl girly?
No.
We'll get you onto that.
I'll have to Google it.
Yeah.
Is it fantasy?
It is, yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool.
So there's lots to catch up on.
Yeah, there's a lot we want to just catch up on really quick and then come back, refresh and regroup. So if you do want to do some reading while we're on break, we're reading Crescent City or Throne of Glass or the Dungeons Crawl Carl. Did I get it right?
That's good.
But yeah, we will see you guys in our next ep, and that's it.
All bright and sparkly.
Yeah.
See you later.
Bye, guys.